Welcome to the Savvy Dentist podcast with Dr. Jesse Green, the show where great dentistry meets great business. Listen in each week as we bring you an inspiring person who will share their story, ideas and business techniques to help you create a practice and a life you love. And now introducing your host, Dr. Jesse Green.
Hey everyone, it's Jesse Green here. Welcome back to SavvyDentist.com and to the Savvy Dentist podcast. It's really great to have your company for another episode of the show. You know, one thing about life and business as well is there's always going to be setbacks, there's always going to be adversity, there's always going to be challenges and things to overcome. And the degree to which we experience success in business and indeed life is related to our ability to overcome these obstacles, these hurdles, these setbacks. And if we don't already have this skill set, we've got to develop that skill set and build resilience into the way we approach life. Now, my guest today, Rod Cottam, has resilience in spades. Rod has experienced his fair share of adversity and then some, and he is one of the most mentally tough, but also one of the most grateful, positive people I've ever met in my life. Rod began his life as a soldier in the army, and he was part of the 3rd Battalion, and he was deployed to all sorts of interesting places doing all manner of adventurous things. But his life changed instantly one day on his way to work. He was riding his motorbike and a car came through a red light and cleaned him up. And what that left him with was a broken pelvis, punctured lungs, broken ribs, and of course an arm where the nerves were severed and he lost functionality of that arm. He went through all different surgeries, had long recoveries in hospital and ICU, and basically nearly died. And he's come through that more positive, more optimistic, more determined than ever before. And one of the things that Rod's really become known for is his long distance running. And he runs, when I say long distance, I'm not talking a 5K jog around the lake. I'm talking running 560 kilometers over 7 days, that kind of running. Trail runs up to 100 Ks. He's run 300 kilometer runs up to the top of Mount Kosciuszko and all those sorts of things. And he's done it to raise money for the Invictus Australia organisation. And so this organisation is designed to help veterans who are doing it tough. Either they've been physically injured or mentally injured and they need some support. And Rod's runs are designed to raise money for those people. So he's putting service before himself. And that's a theme that you're going to hear Rod talk about in this podcast. And if you enjoy this podcast, could I just encourage you, the one ask I have of you is to go to Rod's website, which is called runrocketrun.com, and donate to the Invictus Foundation there, because that work that they do is really valuable. It's really important. There's been all sorts of inquiries into veteran suicides, and as an ex-military guy myself, I believe that the work that our military does is important and valuable, and it'd be great to get behind these people that have given so much and now could use a hand themselves. So in this podcast, we're going to talk about mental toughness. We're going to talk about the mindset of overcoming. We're going to talk about how to develop resilience, and we're going to talk about how to deal with setbacks in your life. And I promise you that if you can apply these things that Rod shares with you, you're going to be able to get through life and enjoy life and experience new levels of success, but also tap into resources and strengths that you don't even know you have yet. I hope you enjoy this episode with Rod. It's a really interesting and inspiring conversation, and Rod is one hell of a guy, and I hope you enjoy this podcast as much as I enjoyed recording it for you. So here he is. Hey Rod, thanks so much for taking the time to come and hang out with us at the Savvy Dentist podcast. How's things up in Sydney town?
Cold and windy up here today, Jesse. Thanks for asking,
mate. You've got a really interesting story, and your name crossed my desk pretty recently, and your story is compelling, and you've become known for helping people develop resilience through the power of running, and it's not just the physical resilience, but the mental and emotional resilience that goes to that, and obviously there's a backstory to that. So before we kind of get into the resilience piece, I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about your military background and what you did in the Army and how you found your way to the Army. And then, of course, we'll talk about 2004.
After leaving school, I was wanting to join the military, but I didn't want to join straight away.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things I wanted to work in the real world, so to speak, for a little while, because I didn't want to be institutionalized. But it was always something I was going to do. So I joined, enlisted as a private soldier. I wanted to work for a living and not become an officer.
Steady.
I know, I get that a lot. That's all right. We haven't really been involved in a lot. When I enlisted, Australia hadn't been involved in a lot of things basically since Vietnam. So, a lot of it was really new. Timor flared up and sort of the battalion that I was in, 3rd Battalion, with the 1st Battalion to go over there to Timor, which actually the 25th anniversary was only last week. So yeah, so it was a busy time for us once I enlisted, and then of course everything else that happened subsequently around the world. So pretty busy time that I was in. So I was very fortunate to be able to experience a lot. I had a lot of opportunities to get a lot of different training and qualifications, etc. So I probably developed and learned a lot of skills in a short period of time. And I think over that period of sort of 4 years, that gave me a really good grounding to what was to happen to me subsequently when I was involved in a pretty serious accident.
I agree with you. You learn quite a lot in the military relatively quickly. I think it's a wonderful grounding in terms of people management and leadership, and obviously testing yourself physically, mentally, and so on. You would have seen some things in the military that I never saw, and I'm curious to ask you, before we get to the accident in 2004, what do you think the military taught you most in those early years? You said it's a rapid learning curve. What did you learn most in terms of skills, but what did you learn about yourself?
The two things that really stand out is one, we operate in a team environment, which is probably something that you really don't take much attention to. I played a lot of sport when I was a kid. Played a lot of sport, involved in a lot of team sports and so forth. But being in the army and with a group of like-minded guys, that are effectively, your lives are in each other's hands as well. Having that team and that team mentality that I'm here for you, you're here for me, I think really makes you appreciate the support that you do need. It doesn't matter if you're in the smallest group, being a sniper pair, or into a bigger group, a platoon, or a company and so forth. That team aspect around you really need support regardless of who you are was a really big thing for me. And then the second one is perspective.
Okay.
When you're in different parts of the world and you get to see what other people have to put up with after, really bad things have happened to them, and their attitude towards life. Like, you can have some kids that, basically have nothing and have had all these horrible things happen to their family and parents around them, but they're so grateful for the little things like a bottle of water or a pack of lollies that we gave them and things like that. And, we complain about the most ridiculous things back here in Australia. And I think that really gave me a lot of perspective that, again, once, when I was involved in an accident, I was like, there's nothing for me to complain about at all. So, the perspective and that team support, two key standouts for me.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about the accident. It was 2004. What happened?
So riding back to base, so just got back into, I was back from leave, actually, in Australia. I was posted at Holsworthy at the time at the 3rd Battalion, Royal Australian Regiment, Old Faithful. We were the parachute battalion. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was riding to base. It was early, 6:30 in the morning. I was on a motorbike. Roads were relatively quiet. Going through an intersection, and the car just decided, well, the lights don't apply to him, and just went straight through the light and basically cleaned me up.
Oh gosh!
A lot of this is what I've been told, because the brain switches off and says, no, we need to save ourselves here. So I don't remember specifics about it, apart from just things that I've been told. Subsequently. So as a result of that, so my bike pierced through the car.
Oh wow! So they were hitting you at speed then, right?
Yeah. So 70 kilometres an hour I was going 70 kilometres an hour.
Wow.
So I pierced through the door of the car. Lucky there was no one else in the passenger side of that vehicle, because my wheel went straight through the door and would have killed that person inside the car. But as a result, hit the sides. I went straight up and over the car.
Oh wow!
I didn't roll on the road or wash off any energy or anything like that. So going straight up and then hit straight down, and just that impact is basically what did all the damage. I didn't know, or no one really knew what was really going on with me for quite some time. I was got taken to hospital, of course. One lucky thing was there was actually police at the scene already, stopped at the intersection.
Oh, wow.
Lucky, brought me back to life. I was gone otherwise.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, really, very fortunate that they were there at the time. Ambulance came, went to the hospital, was in ICU for a period of time. Eventually, when I came to, all I remember was saying to my brother, just give me some painkillers. I need more morphine. I need something. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
And they said, we can't. We've given you as much as humanly allowed. And then I was out again for however long.
Oh.
Fast forward probably a couple of days. I couldn't walk. I completely smashed my pelvis, all four pelvic bones. And I had my arm my left arm was in a cast.
Yes.
From my shoulder down. So, I've completely busted my arm and shoulder here, and done some pretty serious damage.
Yep.
Fast forward a bit more time, had a lot of MRIs, a lot of scans to see exactly what was going on. But because the swelling was so huge, the scans were just coming up just this white. So still didn't really know what was going on. Over a number of weeks, once the swelling decreased, saw a number of different doctors and still didn't really know what was going on. I couldn't move my arm. Yeah. One, because it was in a cast.
Yes.
But I couldn't feel couldn't feel anything going on either. Finally, we went to when the swelling had gone down enough, went to a hand surgeon, a professor in hand surgery. They're the go-to guys for this sort of thing. Said, right, we've got to go in and basically open you up, see what's going on. We've got our suspicions that there might be some nerve damage on your spine. But yeah, we just got to go in there and basically that will then determine what we need to do. So 11-hour surgery later.
That's a long surgery.
It's a long time for the surgeons and the guys in that room, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, it's also a long time to be under too.
It's one of those things, and you don't realise it at the time, but 11 hours of being under, and you think if you were in bed for 11 hours, you would get to move around a bit.
Yeah.
But when you're under, you don't move whatsoever, so your body is in exactly the same spots, same position. Surgery tables aren't exactly the most comfortable places to be.
No, they are not.
But you actually get not injuries, but things happen as a result of just laying in that spot. Finally woke up from surgery. Back of my head was really sore from leaning on it. Mm-hmm. And another part to that is end up having a really big bald spot because my hair fell out from the pressure of being on the hospital bed for so long. So that was something else I had to deal with. But probably a long story here, but ultimately what had happened was the impact when I went up and hit the road, my body absorbed all of that energy. 4 of my 5 nerves that control your arm and part of your chest got pulled out of the spinal cord.
Oh, golly.
Once you pull it out, you can't plug them back in.
Yep.
So it's, pull a plug out of a socket, you can't put that bad boy back in. So it was, they had a procedure that once they saw that, and it's one of those things, I'm laying on my back and they cut in through my neck and they get into your spine through the front to do all this work. So it's just mind-blowing at the things that they can do.
Very intricate.
It is just, it's phenomenal. So they had to cut my leg open, the inside of my leg from groin to knee, remove an abductor muscle, replace that into my arm to act as a bicep.
Right.
So it was folded up and down amongst itself, rewire it to a nerve in my trapezius to act as a bit of a bicep type action to give me some sort of use in my arm. So I woke up with surgery cuts through my arm, neck, and also then my leg as well, which was quite mind-blowing.
That's phenomenal. I mean, what's the recovery like out of that as well? Because I'm just thinking you're in hospital for a long time after that. Yeah,
it was about 6 months sort of full recovery from the actual surgery. And mind you, at the start when I had the surgery, I was still recovering as well from my pelvis and a punctured lung and broken ribs and a few other bits and pieces as well. Then after 6 months after that first surgery, we went back in again for another surgery. Same thing, took the abductor muscle out of the other leg this time.
Right.
And then they did that to replace the tricep.
Okay.
And then this one had to get wired up from a nerve in between the ribs.
Yes.
The work that they did was just mind-blowing.
So how much function do you have in your left arm now as a result of that surgery?
So what it allows me to do is I can bend my hand up towards my shoulder to a certain degree with a certain amount of strength to be able to do things like I can put a shirt on a lot easier. You can sort of hold my arm so I can pull a shirt up and put my shirt on. But zero feeling. I have no sensory feeling, no finger dexterity or anything like that whatsoever.
Right.
It just sort of allows me to just make a bit more use of some day-to-day tasks.
Yeah, okay.
So to speak. So, yeah.
So what about driving? Can you drive okay?
I can drive, I have to drive an automatic and
sure.
It's got to have certain things. But, yeah, driving's not a problem. It's actually quite funny, and I do make fun of it where I can. Of course, got to make do with what you've got.
The military black humour coming through, right?
It is.
Yeah, dark humour.
It's surprising, and luckily I was right-handed, so this happened to my left arm. So lucky I didn't have to learn how to do everything again with a dominant hand.
Yes.
But our non-dominant hands, day to day, we really only use it to rest or to assist us.
Yes.
In our dominant hand. So not to say, look, it'd be great to be able to have, the use of two arms again, but,
sure.
It doesn't faze me at all anymore. But yeah, quite surprised how, if you need to do things, you find ways to do it.
I want to just ask you about what you were thinking and feeling while you're in hospital, because you spoke a little while ago that, when you're in the army and you've deployed to lots of different places, Timor, presumably Afghanistan or other places of that nature, and you said that there was a lot to be grateful for. It gave you that perspective. And you look at these kids with next to nothing and you see them appreciate the simple things in life that we just take for granted. Sometimes I think it sounds really easy to be resilient and to go, oh, well, it could have been worse. But when you're lying there in hospital with a broken pelvis, punctured lung, broken ribs, an arm that's not doing what it used to do, how do you reevaluate your life in that circumstance? What were you thinking about your future, and were you always so optimistic, or did that have to come to you?
Yeah, it's sort of probably a bit of both, I really think. And again, if I hadn't experienced the things I experienced when I was in the military, I don't know if I would have had the same outlook, or it may have taken a lot longer. I'm not sure. I can't answer that because that just didn't happen. Look, when the accident first happened, you have the moments where, far out, why? Why me? But I think the big difference for me was I was never a victim about it either. And that's something that I've always had, is to never be a victim about anything. It was my choice to ride a motorbike. I know that a motorbike does not have protection like a car does.
Yep.
So whilst I didn't cause the accident, but I put myself in a position where these things can happen.
Yeah.
So not to say that I blame myself or anything like that, but that's sort of, I've got to take responsibility for the position that I was in. So therefore, having been able to take a bit of responsibility for it, I've got to do something about it. I have to take control of what I'm going to do next.
I want to linger on this point because I think this is a really important point, and I don't want to kind of make mountains out of something that seems like a little line that you've, not a line, but like a comment that you've made here, because I think there's actually something really important that lies underneath that, and that is taking responsibility for oneself no matter what happens. Can you just speak to me about your philosophy around that? Because I actually think that this is an important lesson for everyone on the planet, that self-responsibility element. And I'd love to get your perspective on that.
Absolutely, and something that sort of I always talk to is around that. When I talk to people, it's easy to cast responsibility and cast blame onto others. That's just easy, human nature. It's easy to do it, and I think that over I don't know how long, but over the probably most recent periods of time, it's almost become acceptable that you don't have to take ownership of something. It's easy to step back and either just say, not my fault, not me, somebody else can deal with it. But I think that, as humans, and I always want to look at everything that I undertake and do as, I don't want to be the best at anything. I just want to be better. and I want to be better at my, be better as a better human sort of every day, just small little increments of being better. And I think taking accountability and responsibility, it takes a lot of weight and a lot of pressure away from the things that we do. And once you can say, you know what, yep, this is me, I did this, or I put myself in this position or whatever, you can move on much quicker and much easier. You start to grow a lot quicker, and you start to grow and become better.
That's a really interesting perspective. I like the idea that if I take accountability and responsibility, I can move forward faster because I'm not spending energy. If I'm understanding you correctly, I'm not spending energy being pissed off with the world or someone else, because now I go, you know what, I put myself in that position. Okay, now it's up to me to move forward. Do you think that viewpoint is a widely held viewpoint? And if it is, great. But if it's not, how could someone start to develop that mental muscle of taking self-accountability and self-responsibility? Because one of the things I notice in business, this is a business podcast, is sometimes it's easy to say, oh, well, the economy is bad, or the interest rates are too high, or all this external stuff is impacting me and I'm at the effect of everything, rather than me thinking that I get to impact my own life in other ways. So I'm just curious if you've got any thoughts for those people listening who might be going, that sounds great, Rod, I'd like to get to that point. What would be a first step in that journey? I
don't think many people do that. I knew that I was no longer going to be a soldier. That was my career. I always wanted to do. At the time, I was extremely fit. I was ridiculously...
3rd Battalion, mate.
I was in probably peak physical condition.
Yeah.
And that part of it is what saved my life as well, because my body was so strong.
Yep.
I went from being that to now what? Now what? That's what... All my eggs were in that basket. That's what I wanted to do. And that's what I wanted to do. Not... Again, it's one of those things, being in the military, you don't do it for for the income or anything like that. You do it for other reasons. All that was that's all now gone. So what do I have to do now? I could have sat there and said, woe is me, I'm a victim, and the world's a shit place, and all that kind of stuff. But you know what? Again, I had that perspective, but I've got friends, I've got family, I've got all these other opportunities that are out there. I need to just take them. And I need to just make that decision as to what are those opportunities that I am going to take. I'm going to control my life, not be controlled. So I think that the way to to start doing that, if you want to start doing that, again, it always seems like it's really hard. It's a really big step to go and do that. And again, what I still do today is I put myself in uncomfortable situations deliberately. I want to be uncomfortable, because then we that's where we do grow. We don't grow by doing easy things. We grow by doing hard things. So I try to make myself uncomfortable, and over time, you start to realize that being in those uncomfortable situations is actually starts to become enjoyable.
How did you find running? Because I'm thinking, broken pelvis, couple of abductor muscles taken out of your legs. Running doesn't necessarily seem the first choice. But what is it about running? Were you a runner before the accident? Did you enjoy that?
I did enjoy it. So at school, I used to run, probably shorter distances.
Yep. It
was one of those things that, again, I wanted to get back into doing something. And look, don't get me wrong, it took time.
Yeah,
it took quite a bit of time. It wasn't something that happened pretty quickly. But it was just one of those things I had to learn to go, okay, well, I want to start running again, because running is more than just a physical exercise that we do for our physical health. Running is probably one of the best things you can do for mental wellness as well, and particularly longer distance running. So, I get out there and get out on the trails and do all trail running is the main thing that I do.
Yep.
But again, like anything, I started off small. I started on a treadmill, just doing a couple of Ks and just getting used to it, because I have to put my hand in my pocket, and you don't have that normal running style where your body's a bit balanced and things like that. So
I was going to ask you, what do you do with your left arm? Because
I just chuck it in my pocket and away I go.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do get some funny comments and some funny some funny looks at times, but again, it's a conversation starter, which is good.
With respect to the running and getting out there, and as you said, starting small and working up to it, What has running given you, apart from obviously the ability to get back into some physical fitness? You said it's great for mental health, but what does it give you? Is it a sense of control? Is it a sense of charting your own course? Is it a sense of feeling like you've conquered an event? What is it that it means to you personally, Rod?
One of the biggest things is it's just me. Like, it is just me. It's me. I've got no phone. There's no emails. I don't have to worry about text messages. All those distractions and what I call sort of that white noise is gone. It's just me out in the trails and, just left foot, right foot, and just keep going. So there's a lot of clarity in it.
Yeah, okay.
Get to a lot of thinking. I'll probably solve most of my problems every morning when I go out there for a run. It's pretty, it's pretty good to do that.
Fantastic. You've also been involved with the Invictus Games. What is it about Invictus that really kind of speaks to you?
Yeah, so Invictus Australia, probably how I got involved with them was a number of years ago. I decided that I wanted to do something really challenging for myself, first and foremost, and that's when we started doing these really long runs over numbers of days. But then it was like, okay, well, how can I do this and make it a little bit bigger and for someone else or for others as well? Yeah. Something that I always talk to when we join the military is, we join the military because we want to put service before self. That I don't think ever leaves us or should never leave us, and it's certainly something that didn't leave me. So when I reached out to the team at Invictus and said to them, this is what I want to do, and how can I get involved and help you and support you? Yeah, they were obviously delighted that I could do that. And the reason why I chose Invictus is back when I had my accident, organisations like Invictus Australia and others that are out there now did not exist. No. Effectively, it was Department of Veterans Affairs and my unit, which were phenomenal, and I had awesome support for what they gave me. But over time, as Australia has been involved in other conflicts and more of our veterans have had both physical and mental injuries, the organisations like Invictus Australia have been extremely important to help provide that support to the veterans, and not just veterans as well. We do forget that for every veteran there is
loved ones,
their family. Yeah. Whether it's husbands, wives, kids, and broader family as well. So the veteran community, the numbers that have been affected has been increasing. So the job that they do in providing support, and it's through sport as well. The big thing about the Invictus Australia is the support that they provide veterans is through sport. And again, linking it back to when you're in the military, it's around being a team. Yep. Sport, it's around being a team. So yeah, that's how I got involved with them. Just
recently, there was a parliamentary inquiry or royal commission into veteran suicides, which is a terrible statistic, and there's a lot of veterans who are doing it tough, have done it tough, will do it tough. Yep. It's something that just we really need to address. And I wanted to ask you about resilience through running, because we've spoken about the mental health benefits of that, but resilience particularly, what does resilience mean to you? And again, how do you see running fitting into that picture?
Yeah, resilience means different things to different people.
Yeah.
For me, resilience is really around, there's an obstacle I've come across, something's happened, I'm going to find a way around it, and I'm not going to stop until I do. I'm just going to keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. There's always going to be a way to get around something. One of the things that we always, one of the mindsets that we always have, again, coming from the military, was around adapt, improvise, and overcome. And that applies in day-to-day life. My corporate world and my corporate job now is around things are going to happen. There's always going to be something's going to happen. You can never plan for things to be perfect. Perfection doesn't exist anyway, so we can forget about trying to attain that. But things are going to happen, and just need to find ways to get around it. So when it comes to resilience and through running, I like to do long runs. So if I do 100-kilometre races, 100-mile races, my next big run is 560 kilometres in 7 days.
Oh my God!
You get to days 2, 3, 4, and I've got to keep going. I've got to keep going. And it's finding that why. Why do I need to keep going? What's my purpose?
So let me ask you about, where does the physical challenge begin and end, and where does the mental challenge begin and end? With a race like that, 560 Ks, we're looking at 80 Ks a day basically, which is let's call it 2 marathons a day. How much of that is physical? Obviously you need to be fit and well prepared, and how much is mental?
Most of it is mental. Like, the vast majority is mental. The physical side, you've got to have your body prepared to be able to sort of take that load day to day and, do all the right things and eat the right food and fuel it properly and recover and so forth. But yeah, it is mental. It's purely a mental game. Even 100-kilometer races.
Can I just say that when we're saying even 100-kilometer races, it's a training run, right? 100K training run. So it's like that's next level, buddy. That's really.
And I don't take that lightly, and I'm very grateful that I'm able to do those.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing. And again, it's one of those things. If I can get out there and do a 100K run with my hand in my pocket, with 2 abductor muscles missing and all those sort of things, there is no excuse why someone can't go and do their thing, whatever that is.
Yeah.
There's no excuse as far as I'm concerned. I'm pretty harsh around those things.
I don't know if it's harsh. I think it's just the reality. I think actually a little bit of tough love is a good thing, mate. I sometimes think as a society we've become a little bit mollycoddled in some respects, and I don't want to speak unkindly to anyone, or there's obviously some people going through some tough stuff, and I don't want to belittle that. Yeah. But I also think a little bit of the adapt, improvise and overcome is a bit of a needed antidote in the world. I think, it's a good thing.
Oh, mate, 100%. As a society, we have accepted giving up. We have accepted even not trying. So you know what? Don't worry about that. Don't put yourself out there. It might be too hard. It's okay. It's like, but that's the complete opposite of what we should be doing in order to build resilience, to do greater things, to do better things.
100%. And you used a phrase actually called, you mentioned the phrase deliberate discomfort a moment ago, and I wrote it down just as you were talking, because I had another guest on our show. His name is Robert Hamilton. I was a really lovely guy. He's an ex-American Air Force pararescueman, so Navy SEALs equivalent for the Air Force. And he used that exact same thing. He does a lot of physical challenges as well, 7 marathons, 7 days, 7 continents or something like that. And, similar physical challenges to the ones you do. He and I were having a conversation about the importance of putting yourself out of your comfort zone and embracing that discomfort, because if you're going to grow, as you say, it's out there. I'm curious to understand why people don't embrace that, because yes, it's uncomfortable, but don't you want the growth?
Some people don't. People don't, because it's easy to get what we want just by sitting on the couch with your phone. You can order food and get it when you want to get it. You can search whatever you want to search up on the internet at your fingertips. You don't really, to get by, you don't really have to do a lot. That's, most people are comfortable doing that, and they're happy for that. They're happy to do that. One of the main reasons why I started doing these big challenges is I needed more purpose. Personally, I needed purpose. Being in the military, my purpose was whatever our mission happened to be. Yeah. It wasn't to go out there and make tons of money. It was to put service before self and to help for the greater good, to help people that can't help themselves. That's why we do that. After being in the corporate world, love my job and I've had a fantastic career, but my personal purpose, I was lacking. And I think that's what it comes down to, is what do, if people sit there and are really honest with themselves and say, what is my purpose? Like, for me, what actually do I want to do? What do I want to get out of my life? Is it to just sit on the couch and be comfortable watching Netflix? Great, so be it. That's fine for those who want to do it. But after being hit by a car and being nearly dead on the road, I'm not taking this life for granted.
No, you've had a second chance, really, in so many ways. You've got the nickname Rocket. Rocket Run is the website. And so, ladies and gents, if you want to go and support Rod and the work he does and donate to Invictus and others, please go to the website and do that. I think it's an incredible cause, and I'd love to see people get behind it. But I've got to ask, the nickname, help me understand where it came from.
Look, I do get asked this, and I can't pinpoint when it was. It was just sometime after I left the military and I was in corporate world. People just started calling me Rocket. I can't pinpoint the exact spot, unfortunately. I had some different nicknames before that, but yeah, Rocket's the one I kept.
Yeah, there you go. Love it. sometimes in life the worst things can happen to us, or significantly yuck stuff can happen to us. And yet oftentimes there's a gift in there. What's been the gift of this accident for you?
I probably couldn't narrow it down to one. I think I've learnt more. I learnt more about myself and what I'm actually capable of doing than anything that I did in the military.
Wow, that's saying something.
It is. It's really made me sort of think, okay, we take all these things for granted, our normal day-to-day lives and, our families and so forth. But I think that, after the accident, what had happened, I was like, okay. And I think just things I've been able to achieve just day to day make me go, you know what? There's more in me than I really gave myself credit for, and I want to find more. And I think that's one of my drives is going, what else can I actually do? What is there? What else is there? Just opens up this curiosity as to, I started running a couple of Ks on a treadmill. Then I went, how can I get on the road and run 10 Ks and then, start running marathons and running 100-kilometer races and 100-mile races. And it's like, what more can I actually do? I'm still the same person. As in, I'm still me.
Yeah.
But I'm just putting myself out there and doing more and more. So it's made me certainly be a much better person. I would never for a second want to turn back time and change it either.
Isn't that amazing? Amazing? Wouldn't change it.
Not even for a second. No, not for a second.
Look, mate, that is absolutely wonderful. Rod, you've been a tremendous guest today, mate, and I've loved talking to you, and I feel like I could talk to you forever and a day because there's so many rich veins of conversation. For the people listening to this, some of them will be having a very day-to-day existence. Everything's cool. Others might be going through some challenges and struggles. What would be a couple of thoughts or steps to start building the resilience? Because we've spoken about resilience through running, but just looking at resilience more broadly, if you're able to whisper in someone's ear and give them just a couple of words of wisdom from Rocket, what would be those words, mate?
Just get out there and start. Don't be fearful of not finishing something, your first attempt or second attempt or third attempt, or just start. That's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
It's just starting. It really is.
Mate, I love that. Love that. So, ladies and gents, whatever you're thinking of, whatever you're putting off, whatever you think you can't do, start and you might just surprise yourself. And keep going until you get it done. Rod, from all of us here at Savvy Dentist, mate, I want to say thank you once again for being such a wonderful guest on the show. May your work continue and may your good message continue to spread. And if there's anything we can do to help and support that message, please let us know. But ladies and gents, please get across to Rod's website, Run Rocket Run, and donate to Invictus, because I think, as I said a little moment ago, it's a really worthy charity and there's lots of people who could do with the support, and it's great to see Rod out there doing his bit for that. So again, mate, you're a scholar and a gentleman, and I really thank you.
Mate, thank you, Jesse, and I'm just a normal bloke like everyone else.
You're a good man. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Savvy Dentist podcast. For more episodes, go to drjessiegreen.com/savvydentist. And to discover how to build a high-performance dental practice, visit drjessiegreen.com and download the free report.